So why blockchain? Well, this starts with data and the value that data has to businesses moving forward. Now, for many, many years, we've had industry utilities being created where an industry has come together to solve an industry problem by creating a central database of industry information administered by a central player. So an example would be control towers in logistics supply chains, where a data aggregator, the control tower, pulls together all the logistics information in order to smooth out the value chain. The problem here, though, is that this data aggregator has got huge power because this data is incredibly valuable. So as these companies pass their data to the central utility, they risk commoditizing their businesses as the real value add is now in the shoes of the data aggregator. Now, blockchain fixes this problem because the data is now governed by the person, the company, that owns the data. In a blockchain, the data is governed by everybody and by nobody. There is no one central party in control, so you don't have that power equation, that problem. And this, of course, is why blockchain is potentially going to reverse the centralization of the World Wide Web, the internet as we know it today, where power has accumulated in the hands of data aggregators like Google or Facebook or Amazon even. So this is the acorn from which the Y blockchain oak tree grows. You start by saying it is now in our interests to collaborate with our competitors to fix an industry problem by sharing our data in industry utilities, but by not commoditizing our business by giving away that data to a central data aggregator, but retaining control of it. Now, what then happens as you grow this tree from this acorn? Well, now you move into the world of digital assets, where we can now create digital assets that can be traded peer-to-peer without the need for a central intermediary. And these digital assets can take any number of forms, whether they represent something which is purely digital in nature, like an equity or a bond, or aligned with a digital twin can represent a physical asset, like a container in a supply chain. What's also incredibly valuable here is that these tokens can also be used as parts of business models, linked to smart contracts to change behavior, and they can also be linked to stores of value, money, in the form of some form of cryptocurrency. And this is incredibly valuable because it means you can support high velocity microtransactions, much greater liquidity within markets, as you can now transfer value and ownership at the same time. You can take this tree to the next level and growing out an even bigger oak tree as we start to think about the relationships between stakeholders and between state machines. So this blockchain is basically a state machine. It's keeping an understanding of the history of this digital asset throughout time, and we have a business model that's driven by stakeholders who have shared values and whose behavior is driven by the autonomous agents or the smart contracts written within the state machine to update the status of these digital assets as they're traded. But what's incredibly powerful here is the ability to create a new type of organization with a new type of ownership, a new type of decentralized ownership, which is driven by the value of the protocol itself. This token, which is driving the business model, can itself have value. Value to both the consumer of the service, as they use this to access services and to store loyalty points, but also in terms of service providers who build these applications and who put up these nodes on the network. This can also be recursive, as state machines can actually become stakeholders to further groups of stakeholders. So you start to build a network of networks, and you can build out an ecosystem of networks, which links the local to the global without the need for all the traditional hierarchies that we have in the world today. This now is the vision as we have reached the top of this amazing oak tree.